And joining us now is national trial attorney Dante Mills. Dante, great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So this is really the first significant test of the First Amendment's free speech protections in the digital age. What are you anticipating as a decision? How do you think this decision could reshape the media landscape?
Good morning, Kelly. This is massive. This is the first when you look at digital media and deciding whether or not speech can be monitored. Freedom of speech is important here in the United States. There's a lot of reasons behind it. We want our people to be able to say what they believe without censorship or coercion. However, when you look at social media platforms, it reaches a lot of people. It has a lot of impact. And the real question here is, does the government have the ability to control some of that if they believe it could hurt the public? That's going to be the measure and the test that the Supreme Court uses. If the public can be in danger because of some speech on social media, does the government have the right to step in? Now, that's really going to play a role when you talk about social media moving forward. Is it going to be regulated by the government? Are they going to have regular meetings with the government where they discuss what's going to be allowed on their platform? That's the kind of oversight that's going to be allowed if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the government here. What the attorney generals of these states are saying is, this is a social media platform. People have the right to say what they want, and the government can't force you to take posts down or to monitor certain posts. That's really going to be the issue. Does the government have the ability? And based on some of these arguments and questions by the judges initially in these arguments, they're going to look at how harmful that information is, whether or not they're allowed to step in.
Did you get a sense listening in as to how the ruling may go, how this decision may land?
Yes, a lot of the judges are talking about imposing hypotheticals that put people or public in harm's way. And to me, what they're doing is setting up a justification for why the federal government should be allowed to step in. What they're saying is, there's been times, like you talked about, these challenges on social media where people are getting hurt, or talking about disinformation from other governments that could affect the way things are happening in this country and be harmful for people. They're bringing up a lot of these examples, which leads me to believe that they want to leave a carve out or an exception for the government being able to force social media outlets to remove things if they believe it's dangerous or harmful to the public. If they go the other way and say the government does not play a role in social media and can't censor speech, I think that's a door that will be shut. And now Facebook, all of these other companies, they won't listen when the government says you should take this down. So I almost feel like the Supreme Court has to leave the door open at least a little to say, if there's a danger to society, the government can play a role and can push these media outlets to remove posts in different scenarios.
Well, I'm curious, Dante, if the ruling includes that the Biden administration did in fact overstep, how do you see that specifically playing out?
Well, if the ruling is that they did overstep, then now all of these social media companies will ignore the government when they make those requests because they know there's no penalty. They can't be coerced or forced to remove posts. If the Supreme Court rules that the government or Biden's administration did not overstep, then I think it's going to cause these Biden and the administrations to step more, right? They're going to say, well, we have the ability now. The Supreme Court said we can jump in if we think there's information that's dangerous to the public, and we're going to use that to our advantage, and we're going to do it more often. So that's really, this is an important decision. If they say no, it's not going to happen. If they say yes, the administration can do it, then it's going to happen more often.
And certainly major implications when you think about upcoming elections, et cetera. All right, Dante Mills, thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.